Welcome to the EDH Jank Center podcast. This is a cheeky little show where we break down 5 janky, budget, or underutilized cards every other week. These cards may not be the best, most efficient, or even good, but here at the Jank Center, we believe every single card deserves a chance to shine. As always, I'm your host, Jordan, and today I'm joined by my co-host, the informed Crest Lightning, everyone.
I think that's a strong word. I would say what am I informed on?
I think you're informed on being my friend. You're informed on being a podcast co-host.
I'm doing it just, look.
You're informed on being, you're informed on video games.
I would say I am informed on video games.
You're informed on how to edit things. You're a very smart individual. You just know things, okay?
Lately, I'm starting a new editing software.
In order to be informed, you had to have been uninformed at one point.
Right. Being willing and able to jump into being uncomfortable and into the unknown when it comes to taking on new and exciting skills or adventures.
Yeah. Generally, I feel like you know things, and that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I guess I'm informed to do that. I know some stuff. I know a lot of stuff about One Piece.
Is that going to be your talking point today? I was just about to segue into...
No, I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
Just letting everybody know my One Piece journey. They've started the Marine Forward War, so everybody knows what that is.
I don't.
And I'm upset all the time.
Yeah, when I found out that One Piece is like... I thought it was, a fun little pirate show.
It's not.
But then it's like, no, they're toppling genocidal regimes and stuff like that. I was like, whoa, that is not the vibe I got from any of the media I've consumed of it. I've not watched the show.
Yeah, like 80 episodes ago, I just watched. This is a spoiler, by the way, so we'll maybe just bleep it out. But I'm gonna say it.
Where?
Yeah, we'll bleep it out, editor, please. But I just watched. That's what we just. I know.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's upsetting. You just bleep the whole thing. I feel like people will know what I'm talking about, though.
Aside from certain spoilers of certain animes that we will not name, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Pretty good. So my birthday, as of the recording of this episode, is in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
But my wife, for my birthday, she bought me tickets a few months ago so that we could go see the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth World Tour Orchestra.
Let's go.
In Toronto.
What a god tier gift. Let's absolutely get it.
And it was really cool. One of the things I told her during the intermission was there's a particular song from the video game that accompanies the Cosmo Canyon in the game that you go to. And the song is so good in the original video game, Final Fantasy VII, that after knowing and playing through the remake, the first part of the new trilogy,
yeah,
I was so stoked for part 2 just to be able to hear a modern orchestration of that composition, because I think it's so good. And the original soundtrack, the original game, is from 1996.
Wow, yeah. Getting
to hear what they do for the part 2. Now, I do think there's been orchestrations of that song before, but it felt really special to play the remake and the Rebirth. By and large, Rebirth is probably my favorite video game of all time.
Yeah.
Just part 2 are just such high quality pieces of art, in my opinion.
Right.
And the music is just a part of that. Uematsu is just one of the great Japanese video game composers. They've also got a ton of other composers that are legends in of their own right.
Yeah.
Fucking Masashi Hamauzu and Mitsudo Suzuki, who do other tracks and lots of other video games. It's an all-star team essentially of video game composers who get to work on this trilogy. And I was really excited to see hear Cosmo Canyon playing the game and going there in a 3D space for the first time. And that was really, really, really cool. When I played the game, I never in my lifetime thought I'd be able to hear an actual live orchestra play that song.
Yeah, my goodness, that must have been incredible.
It was really cool. And if you don't know that song, look it up. It's good. The Cosmo Canyon, I think in Rebirth it's called something. Hold on, I'm scrolling through. Called because there's a few Cosmo Canyon tracks in Rebirth. The actual track that is the song that I'm talking about is Cosmo Canyon sanctum of planetology.
Okay, write that down, everyone. Andrew, write that down.
But also everything else. I mean, anybody who knows Sephiroth or Sephiroth theme.
Yep.
It's like
Sephiroth is the hot guy with the shirt off, and he has a really, really long sword.
A really long is that the Muramasa?
No idea. I just know him from Smash Bros.
You know Cloud from Smash Bros.
I do.
Hell yeah. Cloud's in that game. Cloud's the main character. Well, he's one of the main characters. I'd argue that I think the trilogy does a really good job of making it not feel like Cloud's the main character.
Right.
Like the whole party really feels like they get a lot of spotlight in the video game, which is really dope.
Yeah.
Not that 7 didn't do that as well, but I think the cinematics of how the remakes work really benefit. Anyway, I'm really hyperfixated with Final Fantasy right now, so that's why that's where I'm sitting. I'm excited. I'm like, do I just replay both of them right now?
Sink all your time into.
I'm like, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom comes out on my birthday, and so I'm like, okay, but am I gonna be over this Final Fantasy hyperfixation or Zelda comes out? Because I want to come into Zelda.
Could be a Porque no Las Dos situation, why not play a little bit of both? But I guess that's not how hyperfixation works.
No, I have to completely commit. Remember when I got Tears of the Kingdom and I just like tanked 160 hours into it without stopping in like 5 days, and then I was like, all right, I'm done.
No, I remember when Breath of the Wild came out. We were living in LA at the time, and my other best friend Rick, he had just gotten that game and a Switch for the first time, and so I lost him for a week. It was just every time I came out of the room, every time I got home from something, he was there.
You played those games? You have a Switch?
No, but I have not played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, you should.
Something I'm interested in, but it feels like it's a time sink that I'm scared of. Frankly,
it's not that much of a time sink if you don't let it. You just like you kind of just like play. You can play it a bit at a time. It's kind of like you just kind of roam around.
Yeah, right.
That's the best way to put it. I am and Rick too. We're the kind of players to be like, we want to be as strong as possible before we do anything.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just like do everything there is to do to like the next. I because you have played Legends Arceus, right?
I have, yes.
When I first played through that game, I didn't love it because I really like traditional Pokemon.
Of course.
I like traditional Pokemon battling a lot.
Yeah.
And so Legends Arceus doesn't really do that. So I had to when I finished it, I was like, I don't know if I'll go back to that. And then I did, this year I went back to Legends Arceus and I probably clocked in 200 hours into it. And what I did was I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do the Pokedex stuff. That's what it's telling me I should do, and I should just do that. And so I didn't move on to the next area until I completed, not perfected, because perfecting the Pokedex takes a really fucking long time.
Yeah.
But I completed every entry for every Pokemon in the area that I possibly could.
Good for you.
Before I moved to the next area, all of my Pokemon were level 90.
Good God.
So not a single battle in the game was hard.
Good God. Yeah, no shit. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
Anyway, this has been Crest Talks About Video Games. What's going on in your life? You're wearing a Seahawks shirt. Talk about it.
I am wearing a Seahawks shirt. So for those who don't know, I'm a football fan. I am a very big Seahawks fan. I've been a Seahawks fan since I was 10 years old, around 2005. So the first year they ever went to a Super Bowl was the first year I was telling my dad that I was a Seahawks fan. But I've been following them for a long time. And I just, I've always, ever since, because I also enjoy style. I like clothing. I like dressing.
Sure.
I like creating outfits and things. NFL,
little fashionista over here.
NFL, I appreciate that. That's high praise. But NFL stuff just isn't very aesthetically pleasing to me.
Sports.
Unfortunately, so a lot of the modern NFL logos and just materials, it's not my thing. I just came into some extra money and I was like, you know what? Let me take $50 and go buy a couple vintage Seahawks things. And so I did. And I'm wearing my Seahawks t-shirt.
Hey, and maybe one day you'll use that little bit of extra money and you'll buy the DLC to Pokemon Sword and Shield, a game that's 7 years? I don't know how old it is. It's pretty old, and you should get the DLC because you play that game all the fucking time. Anyway,
I feel called
I'm
out.
glad you were able to buy stuff you wanted.
Yeah, me too. It makes me happy. And I like being able to represent, the team that I root for while also looking more stylish than I would in just like a
what are you talking about?
Jersey,
I love jerseys.
Do you really?
No.
Say that does not track for you.
I do. I will say I'm a very tactile. I'm a sensitive human being.
That's true.
I do really like the texture of like jerseys, especially like older jerseys.
Oh, interesting. Like sort of like the silky, definitely.
Yeah.
But aside from getting new clothes, I am currently gearing up. I got 9 days until I go back to LA for the first time in over 4 years now. So that's something I'm really excited about. I'm going to meet up with some of our old friends. And something I'm really excited about is I have been when we were in LA, we were post-college, so we were poor. We were very poor. We're still poor,
We're still poor.
I definitely have money now to even go to LA, first of all, but I'm excited to go and like try restaurants and
yeah, fair enough.
Like just experience LA's food scene a bit more than I did when I was there, because we would go to restaurants, but it was like the same.
Oh, you're gonna have a good time.
The same sort of like fat Sal's. Just
no, that's a classic. Don't. It brings me back.
I'm probably gonna go there.
Okay, here's the thing.
I'm probably gonna go there too.
I don't know who lives in Los Angeles and watches our podcast, but if anybody is like in the Hollywood area, they know what we're talking.
But yeah, I'm really excited to go. I've followed a couple TikTok food people that are in LA primarily, and so I've been saving certain restaurants that I've found. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks really great. So I'm really excited to eat, because here's one thing you need to know about me: wherever I am, I'm gonna eat. Like I'm gonna be eating food.
Food. You need to come hang out with me in Toronto.
We will do that eventually.
Next trip.
Yeah.
For you. For me, I'll probably come to Atlanta.
Yeah.
At some point, which I'm excited for the food. I mean, when we went out for your birthday, that was like some of the best food, and we were just like sort of eating. It was not
places where Marissa and I were like, no, you guys need to try this place. Like there are certain places in Atlanta that like I'm just like, I have no fucking idea. Oh God, Atlanta, by the way, is one of the best food cities in America. I will die on that hill. But yeah, very excited for that. I'm excited to eat spectacular food.
Honestly, most like urban cities have just absurdly good food. You just gotta commit to dropping McDonald's and dropping Chipotle. Just give it up. Go spend $20 on a meal on a lunch. It's worth it. I promise. And if you're in Toronto, go spend $40 on a lunch.
I was gonna say it's worth it more. I think it's worth it to save up the money, cook at home a little bit more, and then when you go to eat out, you can eat out at a restaurant. You can tip real big. You can make it an experience for not just you and whoever you're going with. If it's just you, that's great too. But also the server. It feels a bit more special than maybe going out all the time. But I understand that it's not feasible for everyone, and we got to move on to this list.
It's not respectful. This first card of the list.
It's not respectful? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Pact Weapon. It's a 3 and a black artifact equipment from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It says, as long as Pact Weapon is attached to a creature, you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Whenever equipped creature attacks, draw a card and reveal it. The creature gets +X until end of turn, and you lose X life, where X is that card's mana value, and the equip cost is you got to discard a card instead of paying a generic amount of mana. You just have to discard a card.
This is crazy. This is a crazy card. Why is this card? I guess 50 cents is like, for our under $1 picks, is like nothing to sneeze at, but it's not expensive. It's not particularly, I think, good enough to be used all the time, but I feel like it could be good.
100%.
Like it could be a winning piece. It could be
100%. I think the only reason it's not above $1 is the fact that it's like typically one color, like it is black. It's not colorless. So like it's narrowed already just inherently. You can't run it in everything.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, it would absolutely be above $1, I think. This is such a sick card, and I love that it's a budget card.
I'd agree.
There are tons of ways to get the creature that it's equipped to in for damage. You got Flying, you got Menace, you got Trample, you got Shadow for all the people who know like old cards and stuff, or just straight up unblockable. So this thing can hit for some huge damage pretty easily. You can equip a lifelink creature to offset some of that life loss when you're drawing that card off the top. And if you're in black, you usually have decent ways to like snag things back from the graveyard. So since you have to discard a card to equip Pact Weapon, that's actually not that bad in black. And lastly, I just love the flavor because you have to make a pact with a demon to use it.
Yeah.
So instead, like the flavor is that the pact requires you to sacrifice resources of your own rather than just paying mana. You have to discard something a bit more personal, which I think is just really cool and layered and lots of depth there. Yeah.
Well, and if we're talking about like if we want to get like contextual here, right? Like the storytelling of a Magic card's abilities, right? What is the library? It's our mind. It's our thoughts, essentially, right? When we play Magic, when you play mostly color and blue, you're either getting rid of other people's mind by milling them, or you are drawing cards and your mind is expanding, right?
Right.
This card essentially is giving you immortality, and as you age, you are required to get rid of memories or pieces of your mind in order to maintain immortality. And eventually, when you run out of cards in your deck, you will not be the same person anymore.
Whoa. I love the way you put that. That's way better than I could have ever put that. That's so sick.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's why I like Magic, man. I really feel like they succinctly create with game mechanics that are just based around their their normal game structure. I was about to say basic, but their game structure is not basic at all.
100%.
But their game structure allows them to write in a way and create mechanics that are engaging enough that each piece has some sort of little story. When you're tapping your flyers, they're flying overhead of all the people on the ground, and that's why your guys can't defend, right? Like,
it's excellent flavor. It's excellently designed. I agree.
It's mechanic that paints imagery, and I just really like it. It's so cool. It's one of my favorite things about this game.
I agree. And I think it's such an exciting thing for as an artist. You know, you already have active imagination, right? And I agree. It's just a really cool thing to stoke the imagination, stoke the fires.
Speaking of art, Vulcan Bega, I'm not sure. This sword is really dope.
Yeah, that man knows how to draw. Okay.
Commander pick.
Sure, I'll say my commander pick, but I want my only clause is no one can get mad at me.
That's too late. I'm pissed. You know how in our other show, 5 Cards Are Die, the goal is to get less pissed with each pick? Our show, just you and me, my goal is always to get more pissed more pissed off at Jordan, the selector of cards. Which is if you were to have a different commander, Jordan the selector of cards is pretty dope.
Jordan the selector of cards is kind of sick. That's actually, hey.
Is that your Planeswalker form?
Yes. Hey, if anyone's listening and wants to make another proxy, that would be sick.
You unlock like blue mana or something?
Gosh, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to let myself go down that path. It's going to keep us here for another hour. My selection is Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. Shh, everyone. It's 1 and a blue-black. Legendary human ninja. It's got Commander Ninjutsu, which means you can pay a blue and a black and return an unblocked attacker. You control the hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone, tapped and attacking, which essentially means you can skirt around commander attacks. This is one of the only abilities that does that. And it says whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value, and it's a 1/3. Everyone knows it. I don't want to hear it. I might hear some boos from the stands with this pick, but I genuinely think mechanically this would smack in a Yuriko build. Ninjas are inherently an unblockable creature type, allowing them to get in for damage super easily. If they are equipped with Pact Weapon, you are going to be slamming some damage down to your opponents. And on top of that, you're getting like a sort of like 1-2 punch of the draw and buff on attack from the Pact Weapon, and then the on combat damage, the reveal, put into your hand, drain everyone from Yuriko.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. It's good. Yuriko's pretty good, turns out.
I could see her making a pact with the weapon.
I agree. I could see it on her little holster on her belt.
Maybe she's smarter than that, but like I feel like she'd be like, nah, it's worth it.
Yeah. Or like I could handle it, and then she could.
Yeah, so what I like about Packed Weapon, and every time you select a card from either Forgotten Realms or Baldur's Gate, 2 sets I didn't really engage with. I know. I love video games. I don't play a lot of D&D. I don't know a lot of D&D lore.
Same.
So every time you are a card from one of these sets, I'm like, whoa, what does that do? Whoa. There's just so many cards, especially in Baldur's Gate, that I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. And so my commander pick, I wanted to be a D&D pick. And so my pick is Bane, Lord of Darkness.
Ooh, baby.
Legendary creature god for 1, a white, a blue, and a black. As long as your life total is less than or equal to half of your starting total, Bane, Lord of Darkness, has indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, target opponent may have you draw a card. If they don't, you may put a creature card with equal or lesser toughness from your hand onto the battlefield, and it's a 5/2. I kind of like this self-hate masochist vibe going on with Packed Weapon just from the get-go, and I was like, oh, as long as your life total is less than or half two, that could be a goal then. And if that's your commander, that's a pretty good indestructible piece on the board, and having Packed Weapon on an indestructible commander is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
But also I was like, oh, this could be fun. I love looking, you and I both, we love looking at color combinations that aren't necessarily fun for the table and making them maybe less aggro on the table, unless obviously you're trying to do like, you know, your favorite force combat. But other than that, we're usually trying to be, you know, amicable to our friends
100%.
and fellow players, not trying to like completely, you know, we've had those experiences, right? My Nico Bolas deck, I was like, I gotta change it. This is too mean. Super Fred's deck, right?
I built a Mogus God of Slaughter deck. That was my second deck ever, and it was just miserable to play against. Like,
yeah, I keep my mill deck around because it's funny, and I love it. But also I don't play it very often because that's not very fun for the table. Unless, you know, other people are playing decks that are mean as well, and then it's kind of like everybody is playing like that. So, you know, that's like all consensual. I like taking Esper and playing sort of this, like, I have a Sultai deck that's all about like self-milling and trying to get my deck to 0 as fast as possible. I like sort of these, because Sultai blue and black are pretty not table friendly colors, and then you add white to Esper, it becomes like a control, not fun control most of the time. And I think it'd be really fun to do sort of like a solo deck where you're not really concerned with the other players' decks all that much, and your goal is about like sort of self-hate and creating these really cool connections with cards you might not usually use, because most of the time self-hate, unless you've got a combo in mind, isn't really great. But like just a synergetic self-hate deck, I think would be really interesting to piece together, and I think this commander fits that vibe.
100%. And he's kind of giving Sephiroth, to call it back to the intro. He's kind of giving that energy in the art here. And yeah, no, I love it. I think it's a great move to make Esper into something that's not control. I think that's something, one of my favorite builds I've ever done was my Kamiz deck, and it's an Esper sort of aggro build with a bunch of my favorite creatures in those colors. It's not control by any means, it's just attack, get bigger, that kind of thing. And this is another fun little include, and it synergizes so well with Packed Weapon's ability. It's great.
With Packed Weapon, yeah. It's almost like maybe this is the god you're making the pact with.
Ooh, any D&D aficionados, let me know. Yeah, let us know in the comments if that's true.
Let me know. Yeah. No, let me know or let Jordan know. Don't let us both know.
We need you to. That's right.
No, either of us, not both of us.
I want us to be separated as much as possible. That's how we get through the show.
Well, then we have to keep going. We have to go on to our next card because we can't separate until we finish this recording.
The narrative becomes that we just hate each other so much, and this is how we get it out.
No, that's not fun.
That's not fun. Well, you do get pissed off the more we go.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair. I guess it's the truth.
Yeah, our bitter rivalry is coming to a head.
I just named a rival after you in one of my Pokemon files.
Saw that. You texted me that, and it was really cute. You know what else is really cute? Not this card. Yeah. The artwork is scary. It's Argent Deus, 1 and a white artifact. This is from Modern Horizons 3.
Disgusting.
Yeah. It enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it. Whenever 2 or more creatures attack, you put an oil counter on Argent Deus, and you can pay 2 and tap it, remove 2 oil counters from it, exile another target non-land permanent. Its controller draws 2 cards. So this is a card that does stuff. It's kind of a classic pick for the Jank Center. I love being able to put something down and then get value from it throughout the game instead of just a one and done kind of deal. I feel like a lot of 2 mana spells are like that, where it's like, yeah, you pay 2 mana and then you get your thing and then it goes to the graveyard and then you're done. Or you get a creature on the field, right? But this is something that, yes, you have to technically sink more mana into it, but you play this on curve on turn 2. You're accruing oil counters as people start to do those early game hits to each other. And then as the game gets even more varied, you're going to start being able to remove the things that will put you in that if they stayed on the field, you would be in a disadvantageous position. Repeatedly, over and over, you can do this. And the drawback here, the game designers did a good job. The drawback here is, okay, yeah, you get to do that multiple times, but you also have to make whoever you're targeting, that person's going to get to draw 2 cards off of your removal spell.
Right. I actually think that's a good thing for the table, because that might incentivize people to not get rid of this enchant or this artifact that easy artifact removal could just be like, nah, stop that. And then when people aren't paying attention because they're not thinking about how good this could potentially be, or if you're playing politically and you're thinking, I just think this is a really cool card on the board, no matter whether or not you're the one who's in control of it. The minute this goes down, the game is going to be changed in one way or another.
I've said this before. I was going to say what you exactly said, basically. So I want to add to it. I've said this before, like, in other videos on the channel. I am actually kind of I am not bothered by any of those kinds of effects. Yeah, maybe it'll create some more losses for me in the long run, but like, I don't necessarily care about that. That's not my mindset going into a game of Magic. And then second, in a 99 card singleton format, right? Like, every card in your deck is different. So the chances of your opponent, when they draw 2 cards, the chances of them drawing into the exact thing that could thwart whatever it is that you're actively doing at that moment, relatively low. And so I'm willing to take that bet personally as a player. Like, for the immediate effect, the immediate benefit, I'm willing to do that. And also, something random before I get to this commander pick, something just like crazy and unhinged you can do with this too is you don't have to hit your opponents with this.
Right.
You can pay 2 mana and exile. It says another target non-land permanent. So if you got tokens, you can pay 2, exile it, draw 2 cards for 2 mana. That's a pretty good deal. 2 mana, draw 2 is nice.
I think the scary thing about this card is that it's kind of like a sneaky engine starter. Like, you could potentially use this to keep getting rid of things that need to die for some reason or need to trigger somehow. There's like,
well, it's exile. They do not die. That's something to note. That's important to note. They don't die.
Oh, right. Regardless, I feel like there's cards that this will be a sneaky connection for.
100%.
You just got to figure that out.
100%.
I'm not going to do that work, but I'm confident that it exists.
100%. And I love that it's a budget pick. You can put this in a lot of decks, and I think as a sort of, because it allows opponents to draw 2 cards when you're removing stuff, it makes for a better feeling removal space in a game, as opposed to like, I'm going to get rid of that and you're not going to get anything and, get fucked, is how it can feel to an opposing player sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I'm going to remove that, but hey, you get to draw 2 more cards, which is cool. And that just makes for a better gaming experience. But my commander pick might skew this in our favor a little bit. It's Marisi, Breaker of the Coil.
Ooh.
1 and a red, green, white. Legendary creature, Cat Warrior from Commander 2019. It says your opponents can't cast spells during combat. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls. And it's a 5/4. So basically the trick is making this a little bit more one-sided and a bit more in our favor. I genuinely think this card is meant for force combat strats. in that if we're forcing people to attack every turn, we are going to fill this thing up with oil counters in no time.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a sort of repeatable throughout the game removal spell. And we're never really getting any of that aggression ideally pointed at us. We can sit in the position of high power, and sort of pick and choose what we remove, pick and choose what stays. And all the cards that your opponents are getting from the draws, if they're creatures, will then eventually be used to attack each other. They will eventually be goaded again. Simple, effective, and yeah, that's kind of my pick. What about you?
I dig it. Well, I don't, because I don't particularly love getting forced into combat and not being able to do anything on other people's combats. But I'm happy you picked it.
Me too. I also want to mention, before we get to your pick, that my partner's name is Marissa, and I call her Marisi sometimes.
Because she has a Marisi deck, right?
It's kind of cute. She did. She took it apart, but she did at one point have a Marisi deck.
That means I don't think I know. She still has the flying deck, right? The Alayla deck?
Yeah, she has an Alayla deck. She has a Heliod deck, Heliod Sun Crowns.
I don't think I've played against her.
It's gross. Deck. Just mono white life gain dumb stuff. And she also has a Goreclaw Terror of Calcisma deck, which is a mono green stompy deck. That thing is her most scary, 100%. I hate that deck so much. I lose to it all the time. And then she has a Lulu Loyal Hollyphant deck, the little flying elephant from Baldur's Gate. Okay, that's the tangent. What's your pick?
Oh, I love that. My pick is Aaron Benalia's Ruin, a legendary creature, Phyrexian human for 2 white and black. It has Menace. Pay a white and a black and tap. Sacrifice another creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And Aaron is a 3/3.
Let's absolutely go. This artwork, by the way.
Yeah, by Mark Winters.
Incredible.
Here's the thing. We've talked about it before. I'm going to talk about it again.
Yes.
I like uncommon commanders.
Yeah, me too.
I always find that they are at the power level I enjoy playing at the pace.
Yeah, sort of grindier play style.
I can put good cards in my 99 without having to worry about other players feeling like the deck is too powerful.
Yeah, sure.
Because my commander isn't necessarily essentially always a threat.
Yeah.
And there is no crazy tech I'm trying to pull off with this commander. Although it's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I mean, that's a lot of things you got to do to get a +1/+1 counter and everything, but that's a +1/+1 counter on everything could be devastating, And the reason I picked it for this card in particular is because it has a Menace. I think Menace is good for everything, but if you're trying to gain these oil counters, especially early game, like you said, if you hit it on curve and then you draw that extra white or that extra black, and that's your mana base, and you're able to play this turn 3, that's pretty nutso, I think.
It's pretty sweet.
So, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to highlight another, I think, cheaper uncommon commander that might not get used. I might build this deck just because
you should.
I like these lower. I've been thinking about making a Menace deck, right?
Yeah. No, I support that wholeheartedly. I want to build more uncommon commanders, frankly. I think that's something I want to do as well. Because also it just promotes that grindier, slower play style, and I want to be doing that a bit more.
One of my big dreams eventually is to create a big commander cube where all the commanders you can pull from are uncommon.
Ooh, that's so sick.
So and all the cards are either uncommon or common.
Yeah.
That you can pull from in the packs, and so it would essentially become this sort of pseudo popper, not quite commander cube. If anybody's got links to set lists or something, if anybody's already tried that idea, that's the goal I want to do.
Yeah,
because I think that's the fun thing that you could bring, and you're probably going to play with commanders. Everybody at the table is probably going to play with a commander they don't know,
right?
Instead of picking the things they're comfortable with necessarily.
Yeah, I want to. My gosh, I can't remember the name. Tanya, ship's caretaker. She's an uncommon, I think, from Commander Legends, and it's this Boros commander that cares about auras and equipment, but always wanted to do it's like a janky build with her, and maybe we'll do it on the channel. Anyways, I think it's time to move on to our next card, and he's a trickster. It's Oko the Trickster for a green-blue legendary planeswalker Oko from Throne of Eldraine. It's got a couple of loyalty abilities. The first one is
so cool.
God.
Keep it together, man. It's just Oko.
Right,
he's just tricking. He's doing little tricks.
But I can see his little belly button, and I'm scared. All right, well, the first loyalty ability is +1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature you control. It has a 0. Until end of turn, Oko the Trickster becomes a copy of target creature you control. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to him this turn. And it has a -7. Until end of turn, each creature you control has base power and toughness 10/10, gains trample, and it starts at 4 loyalty.
Wow. And you know what? Every time I see Oko, it's like 10,000 years of real time passes between my eyes before I realize that it's only been a couple of minutes.
That's so Oko coded. Like, he would do that. He would make you feel like that. So I think the +1/+1 counter ability here is cool. Don't get me wrong, and so is the board buff at the end. The ultimate is just killer.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about the fact that Oko can shapeshift, and I'm just going to segue straight into what I wanted to put it into.
Simic shapeshifters.
Which is Sultai shapeshifters with Volrath the Shapestealer.
Ooh!
2 and a black, green, blue. Legendary creature shapeshifter. Also, ironically enough, from Commander 2019, same as Marisi. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. You can pay 1 generic mana at instant speed. Until your next turn, Volrath the Shapestealer becomes a copy of target creature with a counter on it, except it's 7/5, and it has this ability, and it's a 7/5. So I have recently built in paper a Sultai Group Hug Shapeshifter deck. It's the idea being that I give my opponents a bunch of cards and resources, they play all of their fun, cool stuff, and then I, running all of these different clones and different shapeshifters, get to sort of take the shape of whatever I kind of want. It's a really, really fun deck. I haven't tuned it up yet the way that I want, but I think Oko would be a really, really fun include in here for flavor, but also putting 2 counters on something allows me to make a copy of that something with Volrath. It is limited to something I control, but if I need another copy of something, that could be useful. And it also is just making things stronger. And then on top of that, if I need that copy to attack, I can use that 0 ability on Oko, prevent all damage that would be dealt to him, and just attack with sort of impunity, not having to worry about dying in combat. And then if worse comes to worse, I'm just going to use the Anthem effect and smash everyone in the face. It's a win-win. I think for the mana, you're getting a good amount of value, and it's not scary enough to warrant a threat, but if it is, it ends up, Planeswalkers are just great decoys. Just across the board, I think they're spectacular in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas all right, cool, don't attack my life total, kill my Planeswalker, but that's one attack that you don't get at my life total.
Right.
And I'm gonna be fine with or without the Planeswalker. So yeah, I think it's a great little include, nice and flavorful. And I've always loved the idea of Simic or Sultai clones.
First, absolutely fuck Volrath, piece of shit.
Yeah, he sucks.
But I don't think I've seen people make a full shapeshifter deck in these colors, which there's tons of things to do. Usually that's just pure shapeshifting.
Yeah.
I'm so interested in that deck. I'm sure people have made it, but I've not seen one. Usually there's other shapeshifters that people prefer that are usually 2 colors.
I'll bring it the next time we play.
Okay.
Yeah, see it in action.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I love it so much. And what did you pick, baby?
So, my commander pick is another uncommon commander.
God.
This time from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. My pick is Arwen Undomio.
Oh, our girl.
Legendary creature, elf noble for a green and a blue. Whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
Okay.
Pay 4, a green and a blue, and you can scry 2.
That's really cute.
My energy, I was feeling like making a little tricksy deck, a little trickster Simic deck that's based around scrying, a bunch of cards, and then playing things like Oko when you because you'll know it's coming because you're scrying through everything, and so it's relatively low power at first, and then you start playing your heavy hitters that are cards you get to select and sort of scry through and pick.
And you're putting +1/+1 counters on things with Arwen anyways. You're just going to be getting all your creatures jacked even more when Oko's on the field. I love that.
Yep. Or before you get Oko,
Yeah, exactly. And then the Anthem effect at the end. Ooh, baby. Maybe. Yeah, that's sick. And Arwen and a little trickster deck is perfect for your vibe. Yeah, it's giving Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief, but like human.
Elf Noble.
Even though she's not human, what am I even talking about?
She was called Undomio, for she was the even star of her people.
I'm a fool today. An Elf Noble, not a human. That's fire, and I have no idea what that means.
It means she was pretty cool.
Hey, you know what else is pretty cool?
Nope.
The fact that you're going to love this since you just hate every card progressively. We're almost at we're to the fourth card of the day. We're almost done.
Wow. It must have felt so good for everybody to listen to us just trip over ourselves through this whole episode. At least we've been laughing the whole time.
Yeah, we've been having fun. We've been having a good time.
Yeah.
Stonehaven Outfitter is our next card. It's a 1 and a white creature core artificer ally. It's not an ally deck. I'm not putting it in an ally deck, I promise. But maybe you are? It's from...
For the audio listeners, I'm just making faces at Jordan. So.
It's from Oath of the Gatewatch. It says, equipped creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever an equipped creature you control dies, draw a card, and it's a 2/2. So we love an older card coming through and being relevant in Commander. It's so funny. I feel like because we're, relatively younger than a lot of the sort of quote-unquote average Magic the Gathering demographic, we're like a little younger, I'd say.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that.
A lot of people would balk. I've called cards old on the channel before, and people are like, what? Like, what do you mean? And I just think that's kind of interesting how the passage of time works. So some people might say that this card is not old. To those people, I'm sorry.
They would be objectively wrong.
Yeah, it's from what? What is this? Oath of the Gatewatch is 2016. So I don't know.
Okay.
Less than 10 years ago.
Okay, maybe not old yet. I would say 10 years. A decade makes it old, so it's not old.
Maybe.
So they would be objectively right, and I'm wrong.
Which is fine. We'll admit we'll be accountable on this show. But hey, we love a relatively older card coming through. I'll amend my statement. And being relevant in Commander, equipment decks are not like usually my thing, but that last ability makes me want to make one because I think the home is going to be an uncommon commander.
Yeah!
It's Cole the Forge Master. It's a red and a white legendary creature. Dwarf Warrior from Kaldheim. It says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. And it says creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1, and it's a 2/2. So this was just a great excuse to just hypothetically build one of my favorite uncommon commanders. That's been printed in the last few years. I love the idea of, because like the worst thing I feel about equipment decks is that like once your equipment's gone, it's kind of gone, or like you spend so much time setting up like a creature and equipping it a bunch, and then like someone just removes it or it dies in combat, and you're just like, well, now what?
Right.
I just love the ability on Cole to be able to recur things, and because the truth of the matter is, look, things are gonna die in Commander, and they say this all the time. I know.
I want to keep my cards on the field.
Don't we all? We're getting a commander that allows us to get our stuff back. And because things are going to die, we're going to be getting not only our creature back, but we're going to be getting a card off of Stonehaven as well. And I just think that's a lovely little synergy. It's a low-cost creature. It's no stress, no stakes. And it synergizes with Cole in that it gives an Anthem effect as well. I just think it's all around great little include for this build. And yeah, I think it's cute. And I love that it's under $1. I think that's really dope. And I've not ever seen it on the battlefield before. Even I've played a bunch of equipment decks, or against a bunch of equipment decks, and have somehow not managed to see that card, which I think it's a great little like draw, like replacement effect, where if you lose your creature, hey, you at least get something back out of your library, or theoretically get something back. But okay, what about you?
So my commander pick, I was frankly inspired by our last episode with Travis.
Yeah.
Talking about Gatewatch and talking about allies and Zendikar and all that. And so I, and hear me out, thought that I would go ahead and make an ally deck.
Don't you do it.
My commander pick is Munda, Ambush Leader. Legendary creature, core ally for 2, a red and a white. Haste. Rally. Whenever Munda Ambush Leader or another ally you control enters, you may look at the top 4 cards of your library. If you do, reveal any number of ally cards from among them, then put those cards on top of your library in any order, and the rest on the bottom in any order.
Whoa.
And it's a 3/4.
I don't think I've ever seen this card before.
So I think Boros Allies is pretty fair.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Especially if you keep it themed with some of the older cards that aren't like super beneficial to Boros that we've gotten in the last, few years or so.
I'd say that, yeah, for sure.
So if you keep it themed, keep it in Zendikar, and keep it Boros, I think this could be a really fun deck. And I like this commander's ability a lot. For Boros, I don't think it's too aggressive. I don't think it's but I think it's really engaging, and I think it could really benefit people from, it feels really sneaky to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's still an ally sort of anthem effect, so
it can get somewhat out of hand, I guess.
And because you're putting them in your order, you get to decide.
Yeah. I also love his little tats. Look at his tats.
Pretty cool.
He's giving like Airbender vibes in this.
Okay, because there's body tats.
Artwork, like very upset Airbender. Yeah, but he's also bald.
Because an Airbender wouldn't do this.
That's true. I know that.
Although we don't know what the Airbenders would do in case the Eldrazi show up on the plane. So
yeah, maybe they'd be driven to slashing. What?
How many people talk about Avatar as an IP for Worlds Beyond?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. But hello, yeah.
Wizards, please. What are you doing?
Oh my god, I would buy the shit out of that. I would be, my gosh. Oh my god, and it works perfectly. It's like you could do 4 commander precons.
And it doesn't need to be like era specific. Like you could do a Korra deck, you could do an Aang deck, you could do a Kyoshi deck if you wanted to, right? Like
1 for each of the elements. Yeah. General Iroh. Like group hug, mono red.
Right.
Iroh deck would be sick. That'd be so cool. Okay. Yeah. Wizards, they have to be listening by now. We've
been begging them on our knees.
Begging them to listen for the last. Hear us out. Listen, the podcast is going to blow up. The channel's going to blow up. They'll be like, wow.
What do you mean? It's already the most popular Magic the Gathering podcast of all time.
Yeah, by the time this episode comes out.
Our 16 episodes?
This will be, episode 17. So yeah, our 16 episodes will have blown up, and we'll have the sway. We'll be the creative directors at
for our own set that we'll not talk about right now.
Wizards of the Coast. Dream big, We're not talking about it because we haven't even come up with it yet.
I have a particularly specific idea.
Mine would be...
I'll tell you after the show.
That sounds great. Speaking of stuff you want to tell us, I think it's time.
For what?
Specific time of the day where I think it's time.
I hear you.
I think it's time we get into Caress's Chaos Pick of the Day, baby. So for those who are uneducated, or if this is your first time listening to the podcast, dear God, go back and watch more episodes, please, and then come back to this. I pick 4 cards in the list, and Caress and I both chat about the cards, but there's the last card on the list, because it is 5 cards we do in this series, that Caress picks, and I don't know about it.
Okay, so I picked this card because my wife told me to pick something because it's officially autumn season.
Yes.
And she's a Halloween girly, and she's excited. So I picked the card, Turned into a Pumpkin, which is an instant for 3 and a blue from Throne of Eldraine. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Adamant. If at least 3 blue mana was spent to cast a spell, create a food token.
Oh my god.
I have never seen this card before.
This is something which is, I feel like it's ironic because it's from Throne of Eldraine, which is the set that like we opened so much of back in the day.
I never drew this uncommon card.
Crazy. That's actually wild to me. No, I love this flavor, and just all of it is just so goofy and fun, and it's that side of Magic that we see in almost every set, especially the ones that are like sort of themed around stuff that's like not necessarily high fantasy.
Right.
So this is all based on like fairy tales. We see a lot of these tongue-in-cheek cards in Penna, Thunder Junction, all those ones that are like pulling from like things that aren't just like elves and dragons. And I think this is probably more a star in limited. But you can make it work in Commander, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I didn't pick a commander for this. I kind of just left it at turn into a pumpkin. I'm gonna turn it over to you guys.
And that's all it needs to be.
Give me some fall commanders, some autumn vibes commanders down in the some Halloween. I know Duskmourn's coming out. Some Halloween-esque commanders that we could turn into a pumpkin into. It's your turn to pick, and maybe I'll talk about it.
Yeah, audience. Maybe pull some of your own weight for once. But that was a great chaos pick, my friend. Truly, thank you to your wife for encouraging you to select something spooky.
Thank you, Bella.
Thanks, Bella. We love you.
Yeah.
So now that I know Bella loves me, I can move on to the next segment of our podcast, which is our poll question. So every time we do an episode, we go into the discussion channel of our Discord, which you can join for free, by the way. The link is in the description. And we ask a poll question, and we get people's opinions, insight, et cetera, et cetera. We sort of break down the stats.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And this week, since at the time of recording, Duskmourn is just about to come out, we decided to ask everyone, what horror movie references were you most happy to see in Duskmourn? And we left this one, usually there is like a bunch of choices people can make, and we break down the stats. But this one, we decided to leave it more open-ended, and we just wanted to read some of the responses on the show. So yeah, as you all know by now, Duskmourn is filled to the brim with 80s specifically horror references. I am not a horror aficionado.
Damn.
So all of these references are sort of falling, a lot of them fall dead to me. I think there's a few like unsettling twins where I'm like, oh, that's The Shining. Oh, this is that. But on the whole, I'm more so just experiencing it as a magic set as opposed to like a referential set.
Right.
Which is in stark contrast, I think, to what a lot of people are seeing and experiencing. What about you? Do you know like a lot of horror movies? I don't know this about you.
Yeah. I mean, we went back and my wife and I watched. She's a big horror book reader. But we've done our part. We haven't watched everyone. I haven't seen Hellraiser. Haven't seen, because that's the one with the like Pandora's box and Pinhead. That's like all I know about it. It's probably not called Pandora's box. It's probably called something for hell. It might be the Hellraiser. I'm not sure. But we've done Friday the 13th. We've done Nightmare on Elm Street. We've done Halloween. We've done The Shining. Right? Like we've done a ton of old King stuff. So although we haven't watched the old It, I've seen the old It.
Zero interest in that. That thing creeps me out.
Yeah, so I'd say average.
Yeah.
I will probably know some references. If I think it'll be an exciting pack to open regardless.
Definitely.
But I wouldn't say I'm like super fan or anything like that. But yeah, I grew up, I mean, my dad's like super goth, so
right.
I grew up sort of in the space for that.
We've got a ton of people here talking about things like, there's pretty on the nose ones like Let's Play a Game, which is literally just ripped straight from Saw.
Saw. I have not seen the Saw movies. I probably won't watch those movies, despite them being the first one or the first few being,
same.
Some of people's favorite movies. But that I don't do.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
Yeah. There's lots of like. So we've got references to someone said the artwork for Demonic Council feels like it's a reference to Silence of the Lambs, which I thought was really, really interesting.
Interesting.
For those who are listening only, Demonic Council is a card that has Marina Vendrell, the main character, or one of the main characters from Duskmourn, sort of in the center of the card, while a bunch of, I believe it's Valgavoths, who is the main sort of big bad from the set, the demon that has taken over the entire house. His moth wings are sort of encasing her, as well as his like limbs. And it feels very much like the person is saying Marina also looks like Clarice in this artwork, which I thought was very interesting.
Interesting.
We've got references to Annabelle with Arabella. We've got references to Evil Dead with Come Back Wrong.
That's very funny. That makes sense.
We've also got a hilarious card called Meat Hook Massacre 2, which is like directly referential. That was someone's favorite. It's directly referential to a card that was already printed in Innistrad.
A reference in of itself, yeah.
Meat Hook Massacre. So there's a couple references. Someone said that Altanak the Thrice Called and Say Its Name are both Beetlejuice references.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have seen Beetlejuice.
I have not seen Beetlejuice. But yeah, all these are great and all the artworks are really fun, but I wanted to talk about how one person said, none. I really dislike real life references in an official set.
Interesting.
Which we've encountered this opinion, a good number of times. It's not just that person who feels this way.
Sure.
Someone being very precious about Magic's sort of staying in that high fantasy realm, or like just the way it used to be, quote unquote.
Yeah, but I mean, has it always?
That's the thing I wonder.
Mean, how long ago has it been since it was just on Dominaria?
Because I feel like it started to get
like a long time.
It's always been referential to real life.
Like a long time.
I feel like because they used to do Dynasty Warriors sets, like based off the real Chinese historical figures. They used to.
Theros is Greece, like ancient Greece.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'd be interested to hear their opinion on that.
Maybe it feels too recent.
Yeah.
Of like the 80s, but the 80s was 40 years ago, right? Like that's.
Yes, it was. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Right. The 20s for doing New Capenna, that was 100 years ago. So like. Sure, I get it. I do. I get the sort of like
same,
but like it does feel like they are pandering to IP
for sure,
and that this is just a way to pander to IP fans some more.
Yeah,
but also I don't care as long as the story is engaging. I quite liked Thunder Junction's story. I don't necessarily think the plane was that creative in terms of like what it could have been lore wise, but the cards were all unique and served a lot of fun function in the setting, and I liked the basic story that they had going on there. So I'm gonna enjoy Duskmourn regardless. They don't feel on the nose. I mean, I would say that the one that does feel on the nose is the Saw reference, but
yeah.
But also that's not a Saw reference anymore. There's so many movies that do the Saw thing.
Yeah.
That's why those movies are held so highly by people.
Yeah, I think there's a big part about Duskmourn specifically that is about nostalgia, clearly.
Right.
And references are actually like sort of baked into that world. They're using the references to help create the world, which is, I think, better.
Right.
And more motivated than maybe just tossing random IPs into the ether and just like being like, hey, buy this thing.
Seeing if it sticks.
I would recommend to anyone, genuinely, even like some non-MTG people, watch Ristic Studies' video on Duskmourn. It's about a 40-minute video. He breaks down all the flavor, all this lore, and it is really compelling. He's just one of the greatest creators in the MTG space, in my opinion, and knocked it out of the park with that video. It really got me stoked on the set.
Yeah.
And then one more thing before we move on to our patron question, I want to address how multiple people acknowledge the fact that what they were missing, they liked all the references, but what they missed was a xenomorph reference from Alien. Multiple people mentioned this.
I think that leans too heavy into sci-fi for the vibe of Duskmourn. Not that it's not the 80s movie reference I would want to see. I mean, the facehugger stuff I think could work.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the reason it's omitted.
Yeah, I feel because then some people were talking about in the Discord about how, next year they've hinted at the fact that we're going to be going to space. It's going to be like some sort of space set.
Oh, I guess like between the Omen Paths, creating Omen Path bridges, creating sort of like a multiverse soul space. If it's no longer, it'll be forming one cohesive universe, I guess, between different planes.
Yeah.
Instead of a multiverse of planes, it'll be one universe of planes. Interesting.
And people were saying in that space, they'll be able to explore more sci-fi tropes, and in that you'll find the xenomorph. Not here. So you're correct. I think it's the same. It feels a bit too sci-fi. Although I low-key just feel like xenomorphs are just Phyrexians. Like if you look at someone like the Phyrexian artwork from like
no. They're closer. I would say they're closer. I mean, maybe the way they look, yeah. I would say they're more akin to Eldrazi in terms of their purpose of
But look at like Phyrexian Obliterator. That card, if we could pop this up on the screen, is just that feels like a xenomorph to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a little bit.
So it just, to me, it feels like it's nothing new, and that the same things that movies are pulling from are actually the same thing. It just addressing the person who is saying like they're not fans of real life references and sets, but the same things that Magic designers are pulling from are the same things that movie people and TV people are pulling from. It's story.
Right. It's all referential. I mean, just because it's its own place. I mean, just because you can identify the references here and Magic isn't the first place you're seeing it.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably,
All right.
That's probably what leads to that kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because I would say, Duskborn doesn't feel like, oh, it's just the movie set. It's not just the like set where you get movie references. It's its own plane with stuff that makes sense why it's there.
I thought it was a really, really clever idea. I'm, by the time this comes out, it'll have been out for a while, but I'm really excited to open some stuff from it.
I think it's such a good place in stark contrast to Innistrad, where we get a lot of the old like literature horror.
And now we're getting like the sort of new, quote unquote, new or different horror. Yeah, I agree. Hey, you know what isn't horrific?
Yeah.
Our group of patrons. Hey, segue. So we're going to move on to our last segment of the podcast. It is the patron question.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you want to ask us some questions, submit questions for us to answer on the podcast, you can join the $3 tier of our Patreon in the description.
Let's go.
Join that beautiful little community. And our question today is asked by Brian, who has been one of the day one supporters, by the way. So thank you so much, Brian. We appreciate you and your support so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Brian asks, if all the Planeswalkers were in a battle royale, a fight to the death, who would be victorious? So...
Are we talking about Planeswalkers that are still alive? Because my pick is one that's dead.
I think for the sake of this, they're all alive. They're all able to fight. Who's it going to be? I have a couple picks ready. So there's the one that I immediately felt drawn to, and then I was like, ooh, that's maybe kind of a cop-out.
Okay.
And then I picked like a couple others.
Yeah.
But my first impulse was to pick Commodore Guff, who in the Magic lore literally rewrites history. There's a card called Guff Rewrites History. You can go check it out, read up all the lore. But he literally has the power to like rewrite history. So I picked Commodore Guff simply for the fact that he could just rewrite it so that he won. And then it would be true. Maybe he just runs and hides and writes it in a book.
But he'd have to survive in order to do that.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. You're right. So then maybe it is a cop-out. In which case, I picked a Johnny or Garruk, or Garruk, whatever you want to say, because they're both jacked and relentless. I picked them. Oh, let's maybe maybe they're going to team up because they know they're the biggest people in the arena. And together, maybe they're going to...
Because they're big? Oh man, that's hilarious.
100% though. Yeah, those are my picks though. A Johnny or Garruk.
Yeah, my pick is also a character who's jacked. Is Tazier of Rabia.
Is there a card for that person?
No. Does it need to be a card?
Oh no. If it's a Planeswalker, it counts.
It's one of the Titans. One of Urza's 9 Titans, and he's objectively so powerful. He's split himself into 5 people to master each of the 5 colors, and then formed back into one before he became the Titan. Like ages before he became a Titan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking cool. Well then, shit, maybe my answer is that too.
He gets killed because Urza kills him in one of Urza's suits when they go to Phyrexia. He has the suits like basically booby-trapped to kill Planeswalkers and siphon the mana from inside.
Yeah.
It's such a shitty way to go. It's so horrible. I hate Urza, and I think if this person was still alive, they'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, 100%. That's I love an off the beaten path include like that, because I know that there are not the Urza's 9 Titans or whatever, because I watched the Spice 8 Rack video breaking down all of Magic's history. Another great YouTube video that everyone should watch. But they don't really go into like who exactly are all 9 of the Titans. So that's interesting. I did not know about that person. That's really cool. I hope they make a card of that person one day. Like Are you kidding me?
I would be dope. I don't necessarily know how offensive this caricature is. It's sourced from Arabian Nights, so
Heard. Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know. It could. He looks really cool. He looks like he's essentially like Thanos levels of powerful in terms of mana ability. So it'd be cool not to like write him in, but to give him spotlight of maybe some of his planeswalking adventures that we don't get to see before the war.
Well, that was an excellent patron question, and now I think we gotta ride it on out. We're at the plug already. Yeah, we're like done. Dang.
Oh shit.
We did it, and Cress didn't yell at me once, I think.
I'm not sure. I could have.
Yeah, play back the tape. We'll see. We'll see when I listen back.
I got loud, but I don't think I yelled at you.
I'll take that as a W in my book. Okay, cool. So let's tell everyone what's going on. Listen, guys, if you'd like to get pluggy plug, yeah. We're going to the plug, yeah. And hey, listen, if you'd like to get extra entries in our monthly Discord giveaways, win prizes in our monthly deck building contests, and play spell table games with me every month, check out our Patreon in the description below. We've got lots of awesome ways to support what we do here. And if you want to snag a Pyramid Designs playmat through our affiliate link, check that out in the description below. If you use our link, you get 30% off your purchase. And for those who may not have the funds, but still want to be part of the community, you can always hop in our Discord completely for free and join our wonderful community of Jank lovers. Another free way to support us is by liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel, following us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at EDH Jank Center, and, very important, making sure to leave us a 5-star review on the listening platform of your choice. It helps us get found, it tells the algorithm you love us, and it helps us reach new listeners, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for me. Anything?
And look, if you're out there and you see Jordan in the wild, make sure to give him a high five.
Tell me you know me first, though. Oh, maybe not. I would maybe high five a stranger. If they were just like, hey, you know?
If they were like, hey, you're Jordan from the EDH Jank Center, yeah, they deserve a high five.
100%. I would freak out. Like, if that would be insane if someone recognizes me from the internet. If that's all you got to say, I got to say what I've got to say, and then we can get out of here.
Okay, yeah.
The catchphrase, which is, remember, kiddos, spirit of the format is the gathering. And now we got to go.
Okay, now Jordan's left the room. Jordan's gone. I think he did a pretty good job today. Don't you agree? I think he did pretty good. So it's been a fun recording. It's been a fun time. I'm glad we got a little chance to catch up, you and me, the audience. So we'll see you in the next one.
But I can see his little belly button and I'm scared.
You need to come